Welcome to Thought Experiment Called Life. This is where unconventional thinkers and multi-passionate makers share their journey of creating meaningful lives, built on growth, creativity, and the courage to live on their own terms. I'm Greta, a musician, a martial artist, an herbalist, and a fellow traveler through this mystery we call life. Every other Tuesday, I bring you real conversations with rule breakers and path forgers. Subscribe on Substack for more resources, mindset, tools, and more. For being a musician, I listen to a lot of podcasts, let's put it that way. And they really have helped me in many ways, like depending, just kind of, instead of just letting the TV or whatever around blast me with whatever it wants to blast me with, I can pick. So I can choose what I want to listen to. And yeah, and I really just, as it's been going, I've been having more and more fun talking to people who live lives that don't look like everyone else's life, but it's filled with meaning and purpose, and it's really in alignment with who they are. And I want to highlight those things because I think that we do get that a lot, but I feel we sort of get it in a very sensationalized way.
Yeah.
And this is just from I know there's other people like me out there who I know, like, for instance, if I listen to a Tim Ferriss podcast or something, right, I will feel like I need to do everything. Like, I'm like, I have to do all the, and it's almost like paralysis from excitement, right? And I think those times are really valuable. I love that kind of content and information. And I just want people to like be able to understand that our lives can be so meaningful and beautiful and purposeful in many different ways that maybe, is not going to be on Oprah, but that doesn't matter, right? Like that's like really beyond the point of our lives. So that's kind of been like my thing. Like if you live an unconventional life, if you look at the world a little differently, have a different background and things that you want to share, and you chose that path that looked different from everybody else, like those are the kind of stories that I'm having a lot of fun sharing, at least.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I love that. No, I think that's so important, and it's a really good like juxtaposition between the different types of podcasts out there. Like there's the like give me stuff to put on my to-do list podcasts, which are super important, and then there's the let me actually gain some meaning and gain some perspective and like actually hear someone's story and learn something from it. And yeah, so I love that.
Oh, yay. Thank you. And I was listening to your podcast this morning, and actually let's just introduce you first.
So I'm Rachel Honeyman. I am the founder of Honeybee Bold, which is a branding, marketing, content, and web design agency for mission-driven female entrepreneurs. I am a martial artist. I've been doing jujitsu and Filipino martial arts and Jeet Kune Do. I started martial arts 10 years ago. I just passed my 10-year anniversary. And I'm an artist. I'm a writer. I'm married for coming up on 15 years. And I live in New York. And it's, I'm just very interested in kind of the intersection of like creative entrepreneurship, but also just like meaning making and really looking for those opportunities for connection. I think that that's a big part of, and I know you've talked about this too, like the appeal of martial arts as being like a connecting vehicle. That's really interesting to me. And so that I really bring all of that into my work on the like branding and web design side of things too, because I really work with women who are doing incredible work, and I just see like my role as helping them like have a bigger impact in the world.
So I was listening to your podcast this morning because I saw you're starting like a new course that you're doing, and I wanted just to kind of get more insight into it. And I love so much that you are focusing on the person's voice, right? Like of who you're working with. You had mentioned a couple times about like, yes, AI and ChatGPT or whatever, great for some things, right? So, but not relying on that to be how you present yourself fully, right? Making sure you retain your humanness, even if you need, like, I'll be like, can you edit this for me? Put the right commas in. Yeah, here's a stream of consciousness. Can you help me organize this? Because, I use it a lot for organization in terms of getting out like a message or something. But I really loved that was a huge part of your emphasis with it. And it wasn't like to go viral. I have a whole, I feel like, again, with the whole like sensational stories and everyone wants to go viral and do these things. And it's the times that I've gone viral have not been very pleasant, I have to say. It was like it opened up like a little window into a very mean part of the internet. And I was like, it's not, I think that's
overrated, right? Like it can help. In my jewelry business, it helped with sales here and there. But really, when you're building something that is yours and your brand and you care about, like that's not always the goal, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think, first of all, I think, yes, it can open you up to this like side of this really ugly side of the internet that I've actually I've never had an experience of going really viral. So like, I can't speak from experience, but I also am like totally okay with that. Cause I that scares the shit out of me. The thought of like all these people, I actually have been very lucky that 99% of comments and DMs and all of that I get on my social media is like so positive, and it's probably just because that's what I'm putting out there in the world. But also like the people that I'm attracting it's this like really small little intimate world. And I always tell people like we have this warped view that if 100 people watch a video of mine, right, that it's meaningless. And it's like, no, actually, like, can you imagine standing in a room with 100 people and having their attention, and people are if people are engaging with you and people are sharing their love for what you're putting out into the world, it could be 5 people. Like I don't really care. I actually recently got into this kind of disagreement, is a little too strong, but a little bit of a back and forth with someone, because I'm in the process of transitioning. I have 2 Instagram accounts, and I'm in the process of, one is like my personal account and one is my business account. And I'm really in the process of transitioning everything over to my business account, really because I don't want to separate my personal and business anymore. Like I'm a whole person, and that's part of my, so I want to talk about my martial arts and my chronic pain and my, travel and my like all the other, and my art and my writing and all the other parts of myself on one platform. And when I shared this, someone reached out to me and said, "Oh, but you have so many more followers on your personal account. Why would you give that up?" And I was like, I don't care how many followers I have. Like, that's not the important part, right? It's about how engaged are people and how much is this resonating with the right people.
Right. And I mean, also even with Instagram, the followers don't really,
No, it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't. That was a long time ago. Yeah. And exactly. I mean, I think people are craving connection so much. I think that is one of the reasons that people do enjoy things like podcasts and interviews, because we're sitting here talking. We're not like giving you some curated conversation that has to go a certain way or whatever. It just, I think, after COVID and all of that in particular, there's a lack of just feeling like we're together. Yeah. And, if you're able to convey that, like I have a very, I'm not gonna say a love-hate relationship with social media, but we wrestle. I'll say this. I don't like how much it dominates my thoughts in terms of like content and things like that. Like, oh, this would be fun. That would be my number one reason to just shut it all down. Mm-hmm. Just to be like, I don't want to have those thoughts. Like but also as an artist, right? Like I love making things. I love photography. In another life, that's what I would have focused on. And this, it's a visual platform. So I think that the things that I'm seeing, at least I know, light me up and seem to be speaking to people the most really is that like very real sharing, like very real sharing of who you are. And it was funny, my mom, she meant well. She was like, I talked to her, she's probably gonna listen to this. She'll be like, Grandma. And I was like, she was like, I really liked your last episode, but you talk about therapy too much. I was like, Mom, I talk about everything. I'm going to talk about therapy. Like, yeah, I love my therapist. If I happen to have talked to her recently and then shoot an episode, chances are something that we talked about, I will find interesting to talk about. Yeah. I'm not up here being like, I've been my therapist, but I'm not going to do therapy, with everybody here. Right. But there are things that like, I was able to find my way out of chronic, autoimmune and not good relationships and all of these things, right? By listening to people sharing. And so I'm paying it forward and I will share those things. And yeah, there's some things I'm not going to share, but I think that that is really the ability to be able to just really keep it real with people. And it feels very vulnerable sometimes, when you're doing it, but we need it right now. I think especially like AI, we don't know what's real sometimes. We need each other. We need each other to be real with each other.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, this is something that I I get super vulnerable in my content. Like I share, I mean, I don't share everything. Again, there's always stuff that you don't share, but I share a lot and I get really real. And when I share kind of the ugliest sides of what I'm going through, like people just appreciate it so much. Like I get so many messages from people that are like thanking me for creating a space that allows them to feel, first of all, less alone. Like if they're going through their own struggles, one part of my story that I've talked about a lot is my husband and I went through over 5 years of fertility treatments, and we ultimately decided to stop our path toward parenthood because it was not working, and it took a massive toll on my mental health, like every round of IVF and every setback and everything. And I really was in a very dark place. And I actually kind of like almost live journaled our experience throughout the journey, right? Like every step of the way I would share. I did a lot of writing. Writing is my primary mode of like communication and processing and all of that. And so I would write about the different steps along the way. And every time I shared something, like people would just reach out and, that I had no idea that they had struggled with things themselves. And they just were so grateful that like someone is talking about this and, talking about something that we don't like to talk about. Like we just don't like to talk about it. But in our kind of world of like AI, and not just AI, but also that side of social media where it's like everything is perfect and everything looks great. And like we have these expectations that everything is going to look a certain way. I think it's so refreshing for people to have that permission to share vulnerable parts of themselves.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's really amazing that you shared that part of your journey. And I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I've had friends who've gone through that, and most of them actually just get off social media because it's like everyone's like, here's my baby, or like, here, they're 3 months old now or whatever. And that I can't even like, so for you to actually share that gives, if they are on there, right? Like, then they have somebody to be like, okay, I'm not alone in this, because there isn't a lot of conversation. People, that it's happening, right? Like a lot of women have trouble conceiving and it's happening all over, but there really isn't a whole lot of conversation about it, more, at least from, maybe that's not my algorithm or something, but it seems like it's something you talk about over here quietly, so to be able to share that, a huge offering. Yeah.
Or the other thing that I see a lot, and I don't think there's anything wrong with this. Like everyone needs to process things in their own way, but there is a lot of, I don't know if you've heard this term, like sharing from the scar, not from the wound. Like
yes,
there's this idea. And
I just started that
like,
episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one of your.
Give a little spoiler. So like, and I think that there's this idea that we so a lot of people, especially, in the fertility world, but I think this is true of like anything, people tend to share once they're on the other side of it. Like they're like, okay, I've processed this, and like now I can share this thing that I went through. So in the fertility world, it's very common for people to be like, here's my miracle baby, and here's all that I went through to get here. And that's like, again, totally fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's so rare for people to share like while they're going through the shit. Like people are going through it, or they don't have the happy ending. There's a lot of that stuff that is ongoing, and we're all going through our own shit all the time. Like this is being a human. And so I think that it's just really important for people to share in whatever way they can, right? Like in whatever way feels authentic to them, but is also very healing for not just them, but whoever is watching them.
Yeah, I think I always say life is a full contact sport. Like that's how I've come to see it, at least, which helps me not to be like, it's for me, it goes, okay, this is just life. Like it's normal if things are tough, if things are great, if they have all of this, cascade of experiences. It's a full contact sport. Like you cannot avoid those things. And when you try to avoid them, they find you.
Yeah.
It usually is more contact than you want, right? And I think, if somebody is feeling called, like you and I obviously are feeling called to share, like I know because people shared for me, it helped me. That's how I feel very compelled. I feel literally compelled because I'm a pretty, like, I guess I was definitely a much more like private person in a lot of ways, like, but now I just am saying everything. But but if you're feeling called to share, and a lot of the reasons I didn't want to share is because it did seem like it needed to be some sort of like presentation that was just not like, even being a musician, everyone's like, you have to like perform like this and do it like this and blah, blah, blah. And I was, inexperienced enough and young enough to not really understand, like, there are other ways. It's okay to be who you are and to do the thing you are feeling called to do, even if it doesn't look like what everyone else is doing. And that even goes for sharing your experiences. And I think that's the beauty of us being connected on social media, that we are able to share those things now, and algorithm willing, you can find those people and actually, be able to connect and go like, okay, I'm not alone. I mean, they need to fix that algorithm still, but
yeah. Oh my God. It's a constant. It's a
constant.
I very much relate to what you said about like battling, like being in a battle with social. I always say this, like, obviously social media is a huge part of my work. Like I can't escape it. If I shut down my Instagram account tomorrow, like my business would suffer, and that's like not great. But I also like see the downsides of it. But there are so many beautiful upsides. It's just you have to find them, right? Like you have to mine through the garbage to find the gems. And I think that like we have to be really intentional also about what we are exposing ourselves to, because to a very large extent, like we train our algorithms to feed us the things that we are engaging with. And so I always tell people, like, if you're following people that just make you feel shitty, like unfollow them. And like, if someone is posting their happy, beautiful life and you're going through it, and like, this is not the time that you need to be seeing that, like you can also just like I don't remember what's mute them. Yeah. Right? You can mute them for a while. You can
just give me a minute.
Yeah, but like I think that it's really important that we are, we're driving the ship there. Like we're not just letting ourselves like be kind of victims to the algorithm, but also taking charge and like being very intentional about who we're following, who we're engaging with, what we're sharing with our friends. Like it really changes what we're exposed to, and I think it has a huge impact on like our mental health and our neurochemistry and our emotional health, like all of it.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree. I think it's one of the most clear ways to show like what you put your attention on grows and will keep coming. The algorithm really, we can actually train it, like you said, to like, I know I was looking up, I did my makeup for my wedding. So like, I was like, trying to remember, I used to do makeup back in the day, and I was like, all right, certain things I wanted to like do. And so I kept looking up, and then my like discover feed, so I wasn't mad at it, but I was just laughing because it was my podcast page, which usually there's like different like content on there, and it was just literally all contour. It was like every contour video, every like kind of like shape of contour you could do, like the shape your nose like this and your face and your cheeks like that or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I need to. So I've slowly, like, I like it a little bit. I'm like, oh, yeah. It was just constant. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I gotta address this, but it was, so I only looked up like a few, or I might've seen one and clicked on it. And then there it is. It's just all of the videos, and that is the way our mindset works. Like that, that's how that works. There's something I've talked about it in several episodes, but it's one of my favorite ways to like convey this to people quickly, where if it's like, all right, we're in the rooms that we're in and look for everything that's red in your room. So we like things, and I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, all right, what was blue? And you're like, I wasn't counting the blue. I have no idea, so it's just a way to, whatever you look for is what's part of your reality. Like that's real to you then, right? If you weren't looking for it, it may be there and you have no idea.
I love that exercise, and I'm just laughing because a few months ago, a friend of mine was going through a pretty bad breakup, and so she, and the algorithm, like also here's our conversation, like it's all connected.
Yeah.
So I all of a sudden, all of my videos were all about like leaving toxic relationships and like, if you're with a narcissistic abuser and all this stuff. And I was like, and I just was like, you've ruined my algorithm. Like, I sent her these videos. I'm like, you ruined my algorithm. Like, I'm happily married for 15 years. Like, okay, like, I guess these are meant for me to like send to you. And like,
You're like, now, yeah, I know. Yeah, I'll look up something for an episode, specifically that too, because I was in those situations and my algorithm wasn't that kind of feed, but I did an episode on it and I was like looking for quotes, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna open up this box again of just like, is it toxic, is it codependent, narcissist, and you're just like, I think there's like some kind of reset button. My husband was telling me about that, like you can just like reset your algorithm whenever. I think it'd be interesting.
How do you find that?
I know, right? I'm gonna Google that, but I think it'd be interesting, like if people wanted to share like just like a quick little bit of their algorithm, just so we can all kind of see like how different our algorithms are. What is it that you're being exposed to all day long, and like maybe be like, oh, I want to try that person's algorithm instead. Like that looks like a happier little virtual world to scroll through than this one, or whatever. Yeah.
No, it is so interesting. I think that we sometimes have that perception that like we're all watching the same things, and like that's not necessarily true. Like I think there's, I don't know, approximately a gazillion videos on the internet, and like every day, and like we're all seeing different things and we're all interested in different things. And so like, I think sometimes I do have that with friends, like we're all share reels and then we're like, oh, our algorithms are the same. Like we've shared enough videos together that like our algorithms are officially the same because we're seeing the same stuff. But for the most part, we're all looking at somewhat different algorithms for sure.
Right. Yeah. I'll take a look at my algorithm, my find feed or discover page later. Maybe I'll put something up. There's nothing if it's not all contour again.
Yeah, talk about vulnerable. That could be pretty vulnerable.
I know, right? I know. I know. How did you come upon, like, did this path call to you for marketing and helping people grow their brands? Like, tell me a little bit about how you got there.
Yeah. So I have a master's in English, and I thought I was going to go like the academic route. And halfway through grad school, I had I don't know, I mean, you can't call it a midlife crisis when you're 21 or whatever, but I had an existential crisis because I was actually, I was not married at the time, but my then boyfriend and I were traveling, and we had a very early morning flight, like a 5 a.m. flight, and we're in the airport, and all of a sudden I just said to him, I don't want to be an academic. Like, I don't want to do this. And he was like, okay. Like, I don't know where that came from, but like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I have no idea. So then when I finished in grad school, I started doing some like freelance writing and kind of a little bit on the side. And then my first job out of grad school was actually working for a nonprofit doing their marketing. And I knew nothing about marketing. Like I knew how to write, obviously, but even my writing was like super academic, and I had been so immersed in that world for so long. So I had to really learn on the job. Like I made myself a Facebook account, and I made myself I just like all this stuff. I just figured it out. And then I wound up I was there for about a year, and then wound up getting a job for a fitness company that I was at for about 8 years I started as their like marketing assistant and worked my way up to being their content director. And I learned so much because I was wearing a million hats. And that's when I first got exposure to doing podcasts. This is a long time ago. Podcasts were very different back then.
Right.
But like editing podcasts and all that, and doing video editing and, blogging and social media, and like every part of it I was involved in, email marketing. And so that was kind of my like real immersion in the marketing world. And then I kind of just stayed in that world. And not always, but for a long time, I knew that I wanted to start my own company. I would say for about 10 years before I actually did it. I knew that was going to be the path, but I was very sure that I wanted to build a certain type of company. Like I knew that I didn't just want to be a freelance writer. Like I could do that. It's, but I didn't want that. I wanted to really build a company that was having a very serious impact. And I wanted to build a team and I wanted to do all of that. And so I was really intentional for when I left the fitness company, my next like 3 jobs were super intentional with like the skills that I knew that I needed to fill in, like the gaps in my skills that I wanted to have before I started my company. So for example, one of the skills that I wanted to have was like team leadership, because I hadn't done it before. I hadn't managed people. I hadn't led a team. And so I got a job working for a company where I would be managing a team. And so that really taught me a lot about that side of things. And, so along the way, I kind of accrued all of these different skills. And then I started my company almost exactly 3 years ago. November 29th, I think, was the day that I quit my job and started my company the next day. And so it's been
Congratulations.
Such a
That's
journey.
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey.
Yeah. Well, God, that's really unique the way that you went about that. Really, really forward thinking too. Like, I'm very impressed with your approach. I think that most people don't even realize that is a way, like a strategy. You've got a really good strategy for that. I think I tend to look at life like a video game. Not that I was the little sister. I watched a lot of video games. I didn't really play a lot of
but I can relate to that.
Can you?
Yeah.
You're the baby too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm a good co-pilot. I always say I'm good, but and like Zelda was definitely something like growing up, like, we loved that. But I started, I guess after a certain point, because in my life, there's like, I don't know, I've had lots of side quests, I guess, right? That I felt that I was gathering skills and I didn't really become conscious of it like the way that you're talking about. I think it's really, really like for anybody listening who's in a similar place where they want to do something and they're getting, okay, this is my goal, like to really take stock and evaluation of where do you need to kind of fill out your skill set. That is so huge. It's not something that occurred to me later after thinking about life like a video game. Basically, I was like, all right, I guess this side quest that didn't necessarily manifest into what I thought it was going to, I gained these skills. And this one, I gained these skills. And this one, I gained these skills. And sometimes it was just the ability to have a better perspective about something. The team management, that's a huge one. I know that, yeah, that's like actually managing like a team of people and keeping everyone motivated and also not micromanaging and all of those things. Like those are tremendous, tremendous skills to have, especially if you want to have your own business. And I just really love that you looked at it like that. Like, to me, that's a very advanced way of looking at things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's hard for people because to do this does require some like looking inward and being really honest about your shortcomings. And that's something that most of us really don't like to do. And I actually had kind of a juncture where I had the opportunity to start my business probably about 2 years earlier than I actually did. And I really had to sit with this decision of like, am I ready to build the company that I want to build? Like, I knew I could go full time on my own business at that point and build something, but would it look the way that I wanted it to? And I had to be really honest with myself that I just didn't have the skills that I needed. And
Right.
A lot of it, like, I don't want to give any sort of like misimpression here that I like gained all the skills that I needed and then I like started my business on like this perfect footing. Like, I'm still figuring it out. Like, it's still a work in progress, and I'm still figuring out what that's going to look like kind of long term. But yeah, I do think that this approach can really be applied to any part of life. Like, really, really any part of life. Is if you have a goal, and I'm a very like goal oriented person, so I do try to approach most things like this. Like, I have this goal and like, I'm going to go through steps X through Z and like, I'll get there. the caveat to that is that like sometimes life does not cooperate, right? Like sometimes like things don't follow the plan, and that is a lesson that I've had to learn in many areas of my life the hard way. And like, so just because you set a goal and you set a plan, that doesn't mean you're going to get there in the way that you want to, or you might not get there at all. And like, that's okay.
Yeah.
But it is like a very valuable way to think about things.
It's so much. I love all of that, because it's like, yeah, like you set yourself up for the best success that you felt like I hit these pillars of skills. I'm ready to begin. Yeah. I mean, I always think of like goal setting kind of like, I don't know if somebody else said this or if it's been a long time that I've been saying this. I'm not sure if I read this somewhere many years ago, but I tend to think of it like being on a sailboat. And so you're like, I'm going to go that way, right? I'm going to try to get to that destination. And along the way, you have to take many different paths. You got to be able to adjust your sails and like ride the waves or avoid that storm or like go to this good weather, whatever. You have to pay attention to the path to navigate,
Mm-hmm.
And if you allow yourself that flexibility, then it just becomes a lot easier, because you're not looking at everything going like, oh no, I've screwed this up. Something has gone wrong. Things will go wrong. And it doesn't mean you screwed anything up. Like that's something I had to learn to tell myself a lot. Be like, this is not just because it's hard right now or things are not working doesn't mean you're on the wrong path.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like something that can be really challenging when you work for yourself and you have a calling of your heart that is unusual to everybody else, right? And they're like, well, why don't you just do it like this way, or just go work for this company instead? And you're like, no, I have to do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have to be able to have the trust and flexibility to just navigate through the challenges and have the energy and like wherewithal to be able to seize the opportunities when they come up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I just had like a reminder of this. So I've been doing jujitsu for 10 years, and this year though has been a little bit of a wash, I'm going to say, because I injured my elbow last November, and it's been just this like ongoing thing. It's like not getting better. It's super frustrating. I also have a back injury. Like it's just been, my body is very much rebelling this year. And so I've been kind of in and out this whole year. And then the last 3 months I've been off completely. And like really honestly, at this point, there's no sign of like when I will be able to return to the mats. But last night they had belt promotions at the school that I had been training at. And this one guy was promoted to black belt, and he shared that he had been a brown belt for 12 years. And it just was like, he had a lot of injuries and life stuff and like all this stuff that kind of took him out of it. But he stayed the course. And it was just like such a good reminder that like, just because I admit that like this year and especially the last few months, have this voice in my head that's like, maybe I'm never going to go back. And that might be true. Like it might be true that that could be the case. But I think it was an important reminder of like, sometimes the path is not linear. Like rarely is the path linear. And like, just because I've been out of it for a few months, or maybe it'll be longer, like who knows, but it's like, I can always go back to it. And there's never like the door is never closed. It's really just a matter of finding the right path to get there.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you my own experience. I started training martial arts when I was like 15, got really sick with Lyme disease when I was 20, had to quit at 24, didn't come back until I was 35. And then I started jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
And I took 10 years off basically. Right. And I kind of didn't think I would ever go back, and it took some convincing. I had to figure out, I actually was talking about it with my husband the other night, where I basically went to a few classes because I trained in Krav primarily before jiu-jitsu, which was just like full intensity all the time. Everyone was like just full on all the time. It was like my nervous system, was not feeling that. And I didn't know how to go back. I didn't know how to go to class and be able to do what I know I could do and needed to do, because it's all very explosive. It's all very like, close your eyes and relax, now explode and be a monster. And I can do it, but then I would need like 2 weeks of recovery time because my adrenals, my whole body was just like, all right, that was it. That's all we could do. It took me a little bit to figure out kind of how to manage that in terms of like what classes I would take. I I would take classes that were more just instructional as opposed to the like live application of things until I started to feel more comfortable, or just choose certain times that I could do it. And then finding jiu-jitsu was, in some ways it's more intense and in some ways it's less intense. And obviously the higher, you're purple belt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the higher level you get, the easier it is to just kind of manage the situation, right? You're like, slow down. Like
chill.
Chill out. Yeah. So like, I know for me, so for whatever this is worth, I mean, for me now, I primarily do jiu-jitsu. I do a little bit of striking, but I'm most happy when I'm like just making it playful, just because of the background. And obviously you have 10 years of martial arts, so you have a lot. It's already, I'll say this too, after taking 10 years off, it was in my body. It was just in my body. I started training again and I was like, oh,
there it is.
Yeah, I didn't really lose that much. I was like, I thought I was going to have to start over. And I was like, oh, I kind of remember most of this,
Yeah.
So yeah, just like finding a different way to be able to train when it feels like it's the right time. Yeah, because when I came back and, I still have effects from Lyme, like I have to just kind of navigate, like things will do my the skin on my knees right now, for instance, I can't put pressure on my knees for no, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, to me, it's more comical because there's nothing there. There's not an injury. There's nothing there, but it's just one of those things. One of the
your nervous system.
Yeah. One of the girls I was training with, I we were drilling and I went to get on my knees and it doesn't happen every single time, but I put my knee down. I was like, and it's like a 11. And she was like, are you okay? And I went to explain it. I was like, you know what? Just don't worry about it. I was like, weird. As you know me, I'll be like this thing and then it'll go away and then it'll pop up over here. And I'm like, no, this thing. And just don't worry. I'm fine. I'm good. Unless I'm not like, it's all good. But finding that way to train if it feels like it resonates. I guess I'm just saying there's a lot of hope.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because I think I was going to ask you actually in terms of your strategy at approaching things, how did martial arts, like training in martial arts, how did that kind of shape how you approach things? Because I know for me, it 1,000% shapes it. I'm curious.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's everything. Like it's everything. I think I got into martial arts because plenty of people have way scarier stories that happened to them. But I had a situation where I was followed back to my car late at night and it was just, and I got away like unscathed, physically unscathed, but I was just like, oh shit, what do I do? And I reached out to one of my closest friends who has been doing martial arts for decades. And he's actually like since become my teacher, but like many steps along the way, there were many steps along the way, but he basically was like, start jujitsu. Like that's going to be the best place to start. And so it took me a little while, but I started like maybe a year later. And so my focus pretty much the entire time I have been training has been on the self-defense side of things. So I've done a lot of work my ranking is under Burton Richardson, who has developed this whole system of like BJJ for the street and MMA for the street and all this stuff. And so we incorporate like weapons and striking and all of that and weapons defense and all of that into grappling.
I love that. That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. And I don't unfortunately have so much opportunity to practice that now because I don't have anyone local, but that's always in my head. And I think the important thing is that the way that I approach martial arts, and again, like I do other types of martial arts as well, but jiu-jitsu is my main one, but everything is through that lens of like thinking, you have to think many steps ahead, right? And so I think that's so related to like how I approach my business as well. Is like, I'm always thinking like, where do I want this to go? What is the downstream effect of this action that I'm taking now? And like, how is this going to relate to everything as a whole? And so, yeah, I mean, I just think it's everything. Like I really, truly, I just posted the other day that like, I learned my best I learned my best business lessons from martial arts. And it's like so true. Like I've learned there's so much in martial arts that we often take for granted. But like, if we look for the lessons in it, like they're there screaming at us.
Oh, so much. Yeah, I know. My husband and I talk about it all. We're like, that's just like in jujitsu about it's like sort of like Seinfeld references is how I usually feel about it. We just do like jujitsu references. I'm like, that's like this.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like, especially training, like as long as you've trained, right? You just kind of love it and you just do it. Everything else becomes, like belts and all of that. You're like, that's cool, but like I'm right here doing this thing right now. And I think that one of the, like, at least when I was listening to you, I was like, oh, that must translate so much to how you approach things in general, where it's like you have a long game, but you're present with what you're doing, so, and that is how you have to train, especially something like jujitsu, because that has to get into your body.
Yeah.
And you have to just like, you are not, although you may be thinking moves ahead, but you can't physically like process how to move all of those things to get so many steps ahead. If you're planning on doing XYZ submission later or hoping for that to open up, and you're over here, you can think about that, but like literally like grab this thing, put your foot there, do that there. Are they going to move here? You're not doing all of that. That's just, you've done so much mat time now. You have the skills.
Yeah.
That now the next part is just there and it's easier. And that kind of reminds me of how you approach things too, where it's like, okay, I need to get more mat time with my business skills. Like and that's kind of one teacher I talked to at a workshop once. He said, the answer to most jujitsu questions is move your shoulders. I'll say your hips too. Or sorry, he said move your hips. And I always say shoulders too, because obviously, so move them or just get more mat time. Like you just need more time. You just need more time to feel it and get it wrong. And then get it right, and then get it kind of right, but then maybe still wrong. And then, you need that time. And that will really help you build your confidence in your skills, whether it's, whether you're doing jujitsu or another martial art as well. I love jujitsu because it does take time. It's hard to bullshit anything. You could be fast or strong, but that only gets you so far. You have to really just understand and like actually put in the time to really get it. And I think like, I know for me, so I'm a musician, but I always was a singer and a songwriter. I can produce by listening and be like, okay, this should be there, that should be there. But I never like did it myself until about 5 years ago or so. And it is very daunting. Like I was mixing a song yesterday and I was like, just like, I thought I knew better, like how to make this better. And I have to put my martial arts brain on and just go, okay, what's the next step here, right? Like what's the next? And I always gain some kind of skill every time I mix a new song, because I learn some problem that I have to solve that I've never solved before. So I have to look it up and watch the tutorial and figure it out and then hope that I remember it is really the thing, right? Like if I have to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that this sticks. I don't know when I'll need this skill again, but I've proven to myself that it's possible. And therefore I'm building trust with myself to do it moving forward, and I think that's such a big piece of being self-employed is having this like trust in yourself and trust that you're on the path and that you'll kind of know when you need to divert. Do you feel that way?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's such our gut instinct is like so crucial in martial arts and in life and in business, like all of it. And this is actually, I teach women self-defense. And that is one of the things that I talk about more than anything is like, I could teach you all the techniques in the world, but at the end of the day, your most important defense mechanism is your gut. And as women, we are taught to ignore our gut instinct all the time. And, we're told like, you're being crazy or you're being sensitive or you're being whatever. And like learning to get back in touch with our gut instincts is huge. And I think that that's such a huge part of business and, jujitsu. And like, if something doesn't feel right, if your spidey senses are tingling, like listen to it. And if something, and the flip side is true too. Like if you see an opening for something and you're like, I don't know. Right. Like we do that all the time where we're like, I'm scared to go for it. And like, you're never going to learn unless you go for it, and you're going to fall on your fucking face sometimes. And like, that's okay. Like that's part of the game. That's part of the game. That's part of life. It's just, I think the biggest thing is just learning to, and I say this very much as someone who like, I am like high anxiety, control freak, type A, like I hate being bad at stuff. Like I just hate it.
Same.
So like the same friend who is now my teacher and turned me on to martial arts, like he always makes fun of me because I'm very much like, if I'm not immediately good at something, I'm like, well, what's the point? Why am I even doing this? I'm going to give up. And he's like, okay. Like, so I say this very much from a, like, it's easier said than done. But,
Yes.
but when I have those moments where I like really feel like I'm trusting that gut instinct, and I'm also letting myself fail, like those are the most powerful moments.
They really are. They really, I know it's very cliche to be like, we learn, you don't lose, you learn, or whatever. Right? You're like, but it's so true. It's so true. And I love, that's actually, I think how we first started talking was talking about women's self-defense.
Yes.
And I love that you teach that. And I listened to your interview. I loved the interview that you did with the guy. We see everything but his name.
Is it me on someone else's podcast?
Yes.
Was that me on Stephen Kesting's podcast?
Is that who it was?
Yeah. I'm sure that was on Stephen Kesting's podcast. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Really wonderful. I loved it. We have very almost identical mindset about, I would say pretty much identical mindset about things. And I love hearing that because I don't teach women's self-defense at the moment. I teach women's jiu-jitsu but we just don't have like some of the pads that I want to use for the strikes because that needs to happen. I think the intuition. Yeah. I mean, we are as women, like obviously I'm sure you've read The Gift of Fear, Gavin Becker. Yeah. I recommend that I know the first like chapter is pretty tough if somebody has actually had trauma. So if you need to skip that, do that. But it's really, I normally wouldn't be like having a guy write a book about like women and our intuition. I normally be like, all right, can you just let me listen to a lady talk about it? But he does such a good job. He does such a good job. And it's I appreciate that he, is really like understand. Like, I'm like, oh, I feel like you know what this feels like, Being a woman, we are given, and very generally speaking, I guess, but it's pretty big portion of us, we get so many messages of you should be like this, you should be like that, don't do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Just constantly like being like herded in some direction, usually towards somebody's company who wants us to buy something to put in. Listen, I love products, so I'm fine to an extent. I love my skincare, but it's more of, I just enjoy it. But the nice portion of things, right? Like not listening to our intuition and feeling like we have to be nice and feeling like we have to be considerate of everyone in a way that is overriding our own space, our own, agency of being there. I think one of the biggest questions that I had to ask myself as somebody who's recovering codependent, and I talked about this in a relationship episode, was how does this make me feel? And that one question really changed everything for me because I really wasn't asking myself, how does this make me feel? I was like, I'll be fine. Is everyone else okay?
Yeah.
That was my sort of general mode, was just to make sure everybody else was okay. And the whole, I'll be fine. Like that was very much it. And it put me in situations where I was not fine, and nothing, knock on wood, nothing that I needed self-defense for, at least in regards to that particular question. But it definitely would have served me to have heard that question earlier, maybe in a lot of ways. And I always had a easy time with martial arts, but a hard time standing up for myself. So it was like, and somebody once who I was not a fan of, in college, he was like, you do martial arts because you don't know how to stand up for yourself. And I was like, of course, all it was to use my martial arts in that moment. But I knew that he was right. And I was like, oh, okay, it's something to think about, Yeah. I love hearing that there's more women who are teaching a similar, mindset, right? Where we do have the encouragement to listen to our instincts, to our gut. It is so important. And when we can start to build that trust in ourselves, it changes everything, whether it changes just how you carry yourself or what you actually choose to do in your life, what you choose to do with your life, and it sounds like you very much work this into, again, I really love, like when you said the intersection of this, I can hear it, how you really weave these together, with what you do in the world as well. And I can imagine your clients are benefiting not only from just being able to shape their brand and present it, but it's definitely going to make a ripple deeper than that as well.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I absolutely. It comes up in a lot of what I do is, when I work with clients is I have clients who come to me and they say like, I don't know how to talk about what I do. And it comes from that same place of like this lack of confidence, lack of like self-assuredness. And a lot of my job is like helping them like bring that forth and really help them take ownership of the gifts that they're giving to the world. And so, yeah, it's just such a huge part. I think also like it's just this huge part of how to run a business effectively also is like learning to, say no to clients that you don't want to work with and lean into the people that you want to be in your orbit. And I just think it's everything.
Yeah, there's just like so much that we have to contend with these days in terms of, I'm saying the word content sort of in a bigger scope, just businesses and people presenting things and offers and especially right now with the holidays, it's just like offers everywhere, right?
We are inundated.
And I think the biggest beautiful trend that I've seen is exactly what you're doing, where it's really getting back to the human. It's really getting back to your particular offering. It's not just about making a course that's like a 6-figure course in 6 weeks or whatever, right? Like it's doing something meaningful. We need things that are meaningful, right? Like we need meaning and humanity right now more than ever. And there's, I always say having your own, because I had my jewelry business for like 12, 13 years or so. And it's the Wild West as far as I'm concerned. Like having your own business is you are brave and it's commendable. I think it's like the unsung heroes of our economy are the small business owners.
I think that I always say like owning a business, entrepreneurship is this masterclass in personal development. Like and again, it's what you make of it, right? There are, just like in martial arts, there are shitty people doing martial arts and like not getting any of those lessons, right? And like you can totally do that. And you can also be like a shitty business owner who doesn't care about what they're, and like that's not who I'm working with. So I think that like for those of us who are like meaning driven and like really want to make a positive impact in the world, entrepreneurship is just this like, whether you like it or not, you are going to grow as a person because you have to.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. That was for sure. I love it. It's a masterclass in personal growth for sure. Even now I'm doing a different take on self-employed. I got out of the retail space as much as I loved making things and still want to make and sell things. The retail portion of, I needed a break. I needed a break from being like, this is on sale or like, let me tell you about, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I'd rather just talk to you right now.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, when I did Haute Couture, I would definitely weave in these kinds of things. This was kind of my ultimate purpose, really, has always been to be able to pass things along that help people in this full contact life. And I did it through Haute Couture, but because of the jewelry, it was kind of always in the way, right? Like it was ultimately about crystal jewelry, which I started to feel less and less resonating with for various reasons. I still found it beautiful and fun. I didn't enjoy sourcing things. I didn't enjoy that kind of aspect of things. And so even like, for people who are self-employed and even just feeling like, okay, where do I feel like this is going? Is this the path, right? I like working for myself, but I had to make some real decisions about what that actually was going to look like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love if you want to talk about the course that you're doing, because I think it's a beautiful offering. And for anybody who's listening, if they're interested.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm launching something called the Bold Content Collective this January. It's going to be an 8-week container where it's coaching, co-creation, community. And basically the idea is I speak with so many entrepreneurs who are just like overwhelmed by the content that they need to create. Like we all need to create content for our businesses. This is like the world we live in. And it's this kind of like extra stressful thing in their business that they just are constantly either like putting off or just feel overwhelmed by, or they are inundated with this like super fake content and they feel like they have to do that in order to succeed. And so the idea of this course is really to teach people to take control of like what their brand stands for, what kind of content really feels authentic to them, what messaging is really like deeply rooted in their voice, and then show them how to, yes, leverage AI. I use a lot of AI, but it's like the key is using AI to increase productivity without losing your human voice. And so, by the end of the course, people are going to come away with just a lot of content, but also a really deep understanding of like what they stand for and how to really connect with their dream clients, because this is all about connection. Yeah.
That's a beautiful offering. And I was listening to your one podcast about it where I liked what you were saying too about the time. It's not something that you're making like be like this very, intense time commitment for people who are like, I already don't have time to make the content. How am I going to do the thing? You said it's like you have like 2 meetings a week or so, and it's like not too much time.
Yeah. It's the idea, really, the goal is that it should not be more than like 3 hours max of time per week. And that's really a lot. Most of that time is like within the container, within the support. And so I've just done so many of these courses where you're like sent off to do hours of homework, and then like, I don't have time for that, so that was a big thing with how I put this together.
I love it. I think that's a really, really crucial piece of that, right? Like you're like, I'm doing this to help me manage my time better for this project. You're like, we'll do it together. Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. And they can find on your website?
Yeah. So depending on when you're dropping this, they can go to honeybeebold.com/waitlist. If you're on the wait list, then you get an automatic $250 off, and you get first dibs at seats, because this is going to be a really limited container, a really small cohort. And the website is honeybeebold.com. And you can find everything about me and my company and all of that on my website. Find me on Instagram, also Honeybee Bold, and shoot me a DM. I love to chat.
I love it. And when does the course start again? It starts
end of January.
End of January. Okay. All right. Perfect. This should be out in time. So
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we got. Yeah.
Me too. This is great.
So much fun. We'll do it again sometime.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll have you back on my pod.
I would love to. Anytime. Thank you. It was so good to meet in person.
Yeah.